So today is the beginning of a new semester. Uh, um, and this month's semester um, is essentially utilizing the turtle to facilitate a reset. Okay. Um, I'll go into some definitions in a minute. Well, actually, I guess I ought to start with that. What is the turtle for those that are uninitiated? The turtle is when I turn to my knees, my elbows and knees. So, kind of a classic example would be like, he's on top of me or whatever, and I turn away. We're not going to do a lot of this semester, but I turtle up. So instead of him having my shoulders pinned, I'm now on my knees and elbows, and I could theoretically make some stuff happen. We're going to go into more nuances than that, but just to define what the turtle is when I'm turtled up, right? Now, before we get into utilizing that and kind of how we're going to utilize that, I want to sort of start from the beginning, which is we want to establish what we know to be true, right? Okay. The first thing we want to think about is what is guard passing, because what we're utilizing this semester is the turtle as a means of resetting the situation when our guard has been passed. Okay. When you really think about it, what we want to look at this whole month, what we want to really zero in on is there's this space in the middle between they're in front of your guard and they have settled a dominant position. And this is the passing moment, the sort of ethereal space where they've shucked your legs, they've cut through, they've done this, they've done that. They're passing your guard actively. And you are either going to prevent it, counter it, or be subjected to it. Okay? We're focusing in on this little space. This isn't how your guard can be so strong and powerful that they'll never pass in class, and this is not the how to get out of side control when they flatten you out. That will be Friday, 10:30 this month, escaping side control. But this is they are actively passing your guard, and how can I use this, use these mechanisms or these movements to either prevent it from happening or counter it. So let's understand something about guard passing, right? Quite frequently, quite often, in a guard passing situation, it involves the facilitation of momentum, right? Of big dramatic movements, right? And this will usually take one of two forms. Either, can I get you on your back, please? They will move you. Can I get your head facing Kevin, please? So let's say your feet are in the air, right? They will move you dramatically, right? I might go like, ugh, and pass like an X pass. Obviously, more technical when you actually do it, but you get the idea. I'm going to take Ron's legs and just move him dramatically out of the way and pass the guard that way. Or, let's say we're back here. Let's say I get you on your side a little. I'll move myself dramatically. And I slice through the guard, right? So quite often we're creating big dramatic movements that create momentum either by moving them dramatically or moving myself dramatically. Does that make sense, everybody? Does that track with your experience of doing jiu-jitsu? Okay? So the thing we want to understand, and the cornerstone of this semester, is that momentum is momentum is momentum, right? If a car is, let's say your car breaks down and you got to turn it into that parking lot over there, if I try to just start turning the steering wheel and push it to a side angle, right, to turn the corner, it's not going anywhere. I got to get momentum. I got to get it moving. But once I get it moving, whether it's moving in a straight line or whatever, I can start to turn the steering wheel and I can use that momentum to my advantage. Does that make sense? Right? So momentum is momentum. What we want to think about is utilizing the momentum that they're creating, depending on what sort of movement they're using, either in a collaborative or in an evasive manner. So what do I mean? Well, a collaborative would be I'm collaborating with, right? If they move me, then how can I collaborate with that movement to something that puts me in a better position? And if they move away from me, how can I utilize that movement in an evasive manner? I think he's coming in. No, he missed the door.
I think he still thinks it's over there.
Yeah, he's going to hold it. Yeah. Okay.
He lost his key. I can hear.
Yeah. Does that make sense, guys? So again, if they move us, then we are going to utilize them moving us in a collaborative manner. If they move themselves, we're going to utilize that in an evasive manner. So how do we put this into practice? Well, let's take a really simple example, right? I was in the guard with Ron, and Ron started stacking my hips up, right? He gets this double underpass situation, right? And just like grab around my waist, and pull me onto your hips, right? Sit on your heels, please, right? And so Ron here is just gonna throw my legs hard to one side, right, and settle side control. And as long as he can make my hips, do that really slow, he throws my legs over, make my hip touch to the floor, and then my shoulders go down, he's going to settle this position, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. We're here. So the first thing we're going to utilize, and this is just one context of it, okay, really slow, he starts shucking my legs over. Well, I can force myself to that turtle, right? If I push my feet behind me, if I just use the opponent, if I use this motion, I can co-opt, I can collaborate with his shut, right? This doesn't have to be this. Say you're standing, right? Whatever. He grabs my pant legs, and let's say you throw them that way. I can take that movement and use it as my help. Does that make sense, guys? So the first thing we're going to work on is just collaborating with them moving you dramatically. So we'll do, really honestly, I'd say feel free to get creative when you build this, but those are probably the two best examples of this in practice, is them shucking your legs over. Actually, I'll give you one other one. We're in a triangle, right? He starts to turn the corner. Let's go the other way. Yep, and he's like stacking me up, shucking my leg over, and I'm out of here. Right? If he's gonna, can I get you on your back, please? And let me get, once you get here, facing that way. If I'm gonna take his legs and throw them to the side, right, sit down, go back, and do that half a second earlier. Like the second your butt cheek comes off the floor, kick as hard over that shoulder as possible. Well, now we're dealing with a guard, right? Now we're in turtle. So the first movement, the first thing we're going to work on is just that. It's very simple. So let me get you back in front of me. Actually, do you want to see that, or is that? You got it? All right. So let's say we're in the guard. Like we'll start with the closed guard. He double underhooked or whatever on my legs, and he stacked my hips up, right? So really slow. As he throws, I'm pressing back. Same thing, landing to that knee and this kickstand. We'll be getting into this more on Wednesday, but as he's trying to pursue for a side control, I'm already recovering the guard. We're not going to worry too much about the sit through to the half guard, but play around with it. So if we do this kind of more realistic, we're here, he's stacking me up, go ahead and like throw me over whenever you're ready. And I'm already in the guard. Again, we'll elaborate more on the guard recovery aspect on Wednesday, because that's kind of its own corner of this whole thing. But the first thing I want you guys to work on is just have your partner shuck your legs, propel your toes behind you to get to that turtle situation. Don't let them get your knees and your hips squared up to the ground. Kick over. So even if it's that, or let's say you're standing, and again, he gives the pant legs and he throws my legs hard to one side, I just follow that motion. And I'm already back to a guard before he can even settle that position. Once again, we'll elaborate more on that on Wednesday. Does that make sense, guys? Mm-hmm. Excellent. Let's partner up, work that out. 1, 2, 3.